There's a harsh truth that shocks many gout patients. Just one wrong meal can plunge you into a night of excruciating pain. No warning, no mercy. I've seen patients who, after a family feast with a few delicious dishes, couldn't even get out of bed the next morning. Their big toe swollen, red, and burning every step, pure agony. Hey there, I'm Dr. James from JointWise Health, where we support middle-aged folks, seniors, and caregivers in reclaiming comfort in every step and every meal. If you find this video helpful, please give us a like and subscribe. It's a small action that can help more people access this info and live healthier lives. Today, we're diving into a critical topic for anyone dealing with gout: the 10 foods you need to avoid completely. I'm not saying cut back, I'm saying avoid entirely. These foods can trigger a gout flare-up, even if you're diligently taking your meds. Why am I so emphatic? Because gout isn't just joint pain. It's the result of uric acid building up in your blood, forming sharp crystals that lodge in your joints. Certain foods high in purines, which your body breaks down into uric acid, can spark a flare-up in no time. And trust me, when a gout attack hits, regular painkillers might as well be a glass of water. So, which foods are the worst offenders? Let's start with the first villain. Red meat, a familiar foe on the American plate. If you love a juicy steak or a loaded beef burger, this part might hit hard. Red meat, especially beef, lamb, and pork, is packed with purines. Eating a big serving of red meat is like pouring gasoline on your gout fire. I remember a patient, John, 62, a diehard fan of T-bone steak. He'd tell himself, "A little won't hurt." But here's the thing, gout doesn't need a lot to react. Just enough can spike your uric acid levels. And as we age, our kidneys' ability to flush out uric acid weakens, making even a little a big risk. If you can't give up meat entirely, try swapping some red meat for white meat like chicken or turkey. Stick to the breast, not thighs or wings. But let's be clear, if you're in the middle of an acute gout flare, it's best to say no to all red meat for now. Seafood, a gift from the ocean, but a nightmare for gout. Lobster, crab, scallops, anchovies, herring, they sound tempting and nutritious, but for gout sufferers, these are some of the most dangerous foods. Seafood, especially oily small fish and shellfish, is loaded with purines. A seafood feast on the Florida or Maine coast might be a treat for most, but for you, it's an invitation for gout to come knocking. The purines in seafood quickly turn into uric acid, and worse, they put extra strain on your kidneys. One of my patients, Linda, once told me, "I gave up seafood for 6 months, and my gout was quiet. But one shrimp dinner at my grandson's birthday? 2 days later, I was on crutches." Her story proves gout doesn't forgive even a single slip-up. I don't want your meals to feel dull. If you love seafood, consider low-purine options like farmed salmon or tilapia in small portions. But always check with your doctor before adding them to your diet. Now, you might be thinking, so I have to give up everything I love? Not quite. The key is understanding the risks and realizing that every choice you make at the table today shapes how you'll feel tomorrow. Having identified 2 major culprits, red meat and seafood, we'll continue exploring other hidden enemies in the next part. We've already covered red meat and seafood, 2 heavy hitters known for triggering gout attacks. But the truth is, it's not just the fancy foods that cause trouble. Even everyday, seemingly harmless staples can quietly spike your uric acid levels. And here's the kicker, some things you might think are healthy can be surprisingly risky for gout sufferers. Organ meats, a purine bomb on your plate. Liver, kidney, heart, brain, tongue, these are delicacies for many, especially during holidays or special gatherings. But for gout patients, they're a purine bomb. Just a small serving of beef liver can push purine levels far beyond what's safe for a day. I recall a patient, Robert, 68, who once told me, "I'm from Texas, and grilled liver is practically a tradition here. But ever since gout showed up, every time I indulge, I know I'll be stuck at home a few days later." The issue with organ meats is their incredibly high purine content. Once in your body, they quickly break down into uric acid. For middle-aged or older folks, whose kidneys are less efficient at clearing uric acid, it's like pouring water into an already full glass, just a little more, and it overflows. In this case, that overflow is a gout flare-up. If you're trying to manage gout, cut organ meats out of your diet entirely. There's no cheat day here, one meal is enough to send you into days of pain. Alcohol, especially beer. I know, this one's going to make some guys wince. But let's face it, beer is a top culprit in triggering gout. It's not just that beer, especially regular, not light beer, is high in purines. Alcohol also keeps your kidneys busy processing it, slowing down uric acid elimination. This creates a double whammy. It boosts uric acid production while hampering its removal. No wonder many patients say that after a night of casual drinking, their big toe is swollen and throbbing by morning. Even wine and hard liquor aren't safe. While they have less purine than beer, alcohol still stresses your liver and kidneys, making it harder for your body to balance uric acid levels. Another patient, Thomas, 59, thought switching from beer to red wine would be fine. But a few glasses at a Christmas party landed him in the ER with a brutal gout attack. The lesson? If you want to control gout, cut back drastically, or better yet, avoid alcohol entirely. Sugary drinks, an underestimated threat. If beer is the obvious villain, sodas, energy drinks, and other high-fructose beverages are the silent assassins for gout sufferers. Fructose triggers uric acid production and increases insulin resistance, a factor linked to gout. What's worse, many gout patients also face risks of type 2 diabetes or metabolic syndrome. Sugary drinks are like accomplices, making things even worse. A major U.S. study found that people who drink sugary sodas daily have an 85% higher risk of gout compared to those who rarely do. Even healthy packaged fruit juices, often marketed as wholesome, can be loaded with sugar, especially fructose. If you crave something cool and refreshing, try water with a few lemon slices or unsweetened herbal tea. These are not only safer but can also help your body flush out uric acid more effectively. Processed foods and fast food. Burgers, pizza, hot dogs, fried chicken, they're not just high in purines from meat, but also packed with salt and saturated fats. Salt causes water retention, putting extra pressure on your kidneys, while saturated fats impair kidney function. I once asked a patient why he kept eating fast food despite his gout. He laughed and said, "It's quick and easy." But that convenience today can come with a steep price tomorrow. Plus, many fast foods are cooked in reused frying oil, creating inflammatory compounds, something gout sufferers definitely don't need more of. If you're pressed for time, you can still eat quick but healthier. A sandwich with plain chicken breast, a salad with olive oil, or homemade veggie soup you can reheat. These save time while lowering the risk of a gout flare-up. Refined sugar in sweets. Many think sugar only affects weight or dental health. But refined sugar also boosts uric acid levels, especially by spiking insulin and straining your liver's metabolism. Cookies, cakes, candies, ice cream, these sweet treats don't just deliver empty calories. They also fuel low-grade inflammation, making gout attacks more frequent and severe. I get it, desserts are a daily joy for many. But swap them for low-sugar fruits like berries, cucumbers, or kiwi. You'll get natural sweetness without the gout risk. So, we've unmasked more culprits: organ meats, alcohol, sugary drinks, fast food, and sweets. But there are still a few sneaky enemies hiding in the typical American diet, and we'll expose them in the next part. We've already caught plenty of culprits red-handed, from fancy dishes like seafood and steak to everyday items like sodas and sweets. But the list of foods gout sufferers should absolutely avoid doesn't end there. Some foods might surprise you, with names that make you think, no way that's linked to gout. The reality, though, tells a different story. Certain oily fish, healthy in theory, harmful in practice. Salmon, tuna, sardines, these are often praised for their heart-healthy omega-3s. But for gout patients, they're a double-edged sword, partly beneficial, partly risky. Let me clarify, wild salmon has moderate purine levels and can be eaten occasionally. But sardines, anchovies, and herring are very high in purines, and even tuna, a go-to-healthy choice in many diets, can trigger gout if consumed in excess. One of my patients, Susan, 61, was all about healthy eating. She swapped red meat for canned tuna, thinking she'd cracked the code. But a few weeks later, gout came knocking again. When we reviewed her diet, we realized the purines from her daily tuna were way above safe levels for gout. The takeaway? Heart healthy doesn't automatically mean joint friendly. With gout, you've got to consider purine content, not just overall nutrition. Some purine-rich vegetables. This one catches people off guard. Most assume, veggies? Eat as much as you want. And while greens are vital for health, certain vegetables like asparagus, spinach, cauliflower, mushrooms, and peas pack a surprising purine punch. The good news? Plant-based purines are less likely to trigger gout than animal-based ones. But if you're in an acute gout flare when your joints are swollen, hot, and red, eating too many of these veggies can add to your body's purine load. I often tell my patients, you don't need to cut these out entirely, but limit them and diversify your veggie intake. Instead of piling on spinach every day, mix in lettuce, cucumbers, or zucchini to get your nutrients while minimizing purine overload. Dried beans and lentils. Dried beans, lentils, and soybeans, fantastic plant-based protein sources, carry a hefty purine load. This puts vegetarians or those cutting back on meat at risk of gout trouble without realizing it. A patient of mine in California gave up red meat because of gout but switched to eating lentil soup almost daily. The result? His pain kept coming back. When we analyzed his diet, we saw the purines from lentils were adding up more than he'd imagined. The key point, purines are purines, whether from plants or animals. For gout sufferers, you need to balance and avoid overdoing any high purine food group. Foods high in saturated fats. Full-fat cheese, butter, heavy cream, these are hard for many older Americans to give up, raised on that rich, creamy taste. But saturated fats don't just harm your heart, they indirectly worsen gout by slowing uric acid elimination. Saturated fats also fuel inflammation, and gout, at its core, is an inflammatory joint condition driven by crystals. Add dietary inflammation, and your gout attacks can hit harder and last longer. If you're a dairy lover, go for low-fat or non-fat options. Some studies even suggest low-fat milk may slightly lower blood uric acid levels. Fructose-laden healthy foods. Granola, energy bars, fruit-flavored yogurt, marketed as healthy snacks, these often hide large amounts of high-fructose corn syrup, an industrial sweetener that ramps up uric acid production. I've met plenty of older patients who thought they were eating right by swapping snacks for granola bars, only to find the hidden sugars and fructose were no better than a can of soda. This explains why their gout kept flaring despite ditching beer and red meat. For gout sufferers, it's not enough to check labels for sugar, you need to watch for high fructose corn syrup, the sneaky culprit behind many unexpected gout attacks. So, there you have it, the enemies of gout aren't just obvious ones like beer or steak. They lurk in foods that seem harmless or even healthy. To wrap up this list, we'll uncover the final critical players, including one food I bet many of you are eating weekly without realizing it could be why your gout never seems to go away. We've been peeling back the layers on gout triggers, from red meat, seafood, organ meats, alcohol, sugary drinks, to oily fish, purine-rich veggies, and high-fat foods. But there's one final group of foods that, in my experience, often trips up gout patients in America. Processed meats, sausages, deli meats, bacon. These are so common they're practically staples in American breakfasts or lunchboxes. But for gout, they're a dangerous combo, packed with high purines from meat, plus loads of salt and preservatives like nitrates and nitrites, which harm not just your heart but also fuel inflammation. I had a patient, Bill, 65, who was confident he was eating healthy because he cut back on fresh red meat. But when we reviewed his food diary, we found he was eating deli meat sandwiches almost daily. The result? Gout kept knocking, despite his meds. Processed meats often contain saturated fats and sometimes added sugars or high fructose corn syrup for flavor. All these factors can worsen gout. My advice, if you need quick protein, go for homemade grilled chicken breast or low-purine fish instead of packaged processed meats. Certain sauces and broths. Few people realize sauces can be an issue. But meat-based sauces, bone broths, and gravies are loaded with purines dissolved from meat and bones. When you simmer meat or bones for hours, purines leach into the liquid, and consuming it is no different from eating the meat itself. I recall a patient, Mary, 70, who cut out red meat but loved her beef bone broth. She couldn't figure out why her gout kept flaring until we realized the rich broth she drank weekly was essentially a purine cocktail for her joints. If you crave bold flavors, try vegetable-based broths or low-purine mushroom stocks, spiced with herbs like rosemary, thyme, or oregano. You can still enjoy a tasty bowl of soup without worrying about gout sneaking up. Some supplements and vitamins. This might surprise you, but certain supplements, especially those marketed for energy or bodybuilding, can contain purines or compounds that boost uric acid. High doses of some vitamins, particularly niacin, vitamin B3, can also increase gout risk. I once had a male patient, 58, who religiously drank energy drinks to keep up with his job. He had no idea they contained caffeine, sugars, and compounds that ramped up uric acid production. His gout kept flaring until he ditched them for herbal tea. Before taking any supplements, check with your doctor, especially if you have gout or a history of kidney issues. Heavily fried foods. While not always high in purines, foods fried in lots of oil can indirectly worsen gout. They promote inflammation, stress your liver and kidneys, and are often made with purine-rich ingredients, like fried chicken or fish. Plus, oil reused multiple times, common in restaurants or fast food joints, creates potent inflammatory compounds. For gout sufferers, this is literally adding fuel to the fire. If you're craving something crispy, try baking or using an air fryer. These methods cut down on bad fats and are safer for your joints. So, there you have it, the full lineup of gout's enemies, hiding even in foods you might think are harmless. From processed meats to sneaky broths, supplements, and fried foods, avoiding these can make all the difference in keeping gout at bay. So, we've walked through the top 10 foods gout sufferers should absolutely avoid. You might be thinking, if I cut all these out, what's left to eat? And I get it. Changing your diet isn't just about nutrition, it's tied to social habits, childhood memories, and the joy of life. But here's the thing, every choice you make about what goes into your body today is an investment in your health tomorrow. Avoiding these foods isn't about depriving yourself, it's about giving yourself the chance to live free from gout's crippling pain. Imagine days where you can take a walk, play with your grandkids, or sleep through the night without a throbbing joint waking you up. I've seen patients who stuck with dietary changes, and within just a few months, they not only managed their gout but also lowered their blood pressure, controlled their blood sugar better, and felt younger. You can start small, swap that can of soda for a glass of water with a lemon slice, trade red meat for low-purine fish, or add a purine-light green salad to dinner. These little steps add up to big changes. If you've ever endured a bad gout attack, you know prevention is worth it. So give yourself the best shot at a healthy life, starting with your next meal. I'd love to hear your story. What foods have you cut out, and how has it helped your gout? Share in the comments below, because your experience could inspire others. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe to JointWise Health, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next videos on nutrition, lifestyle, and health for middle-aged and older adults. Remember, gout isn't a life sentence. With the right knowledge and persistence, you can take control and enjoy an active, pain-free life at any age. Here's to living well, staying healthy, and cherishing every moment with the people you love.